Okay, right. So first of all, I'm very bad at this. I would rather be in a 50-knot thermal going straight into the clouds than do public speaking. But you've you've got to overcome your fears somehow. And so this is what I am. So if I start stuttering and go red and stuff like that, then please excuse me. I'm rubbish at this. Okay, and also the stuff that I'm going to talk about is what works for me, for my flying. Flying is more of an art than a science. You always have to find your own way of how things work for you. I can tell you how things work for me, but that won't necessarily be how you should do it. You should always discover your own method. Work it out for yourself. That's definitely the best way to do paragliding. I mean, you can definitely get tips from people, but feeling the air and thinking about what it's doing and how that translates through your controls and rises, that's far more important than anything that you can learn on the ground. Okay, yeah. Right, I'm probably going to get some of this stuff wrong. I've only been doing this, I haven't been doing it that long, so you should always double check any assumptions or facts that you hear from anyone. So don't take my word for granted. Definitely going to screw it up somewhere. Okay, and this is a Q&A, mostly, so I've come here to learn as much as you guys, right? You can only really learn if you hear other people's viewpoints on stuff, and then it just makes you think, I've never really thought about it in that way before. So it's really good to discuss these ideas and figure out amongst us how it all works. Okay, so that's the intro over and done with. Right, so are there any questions, first of all? If not, I've got one.
That is Devil's Dyke.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was somewhere abroad the Switzerland.
I know, it's funny.
Ain't that Devil's Dyke?
It looks like this alpine gorge.
Yeah. So I thought we'd gone somewhere abroad now. I thought, hang on, I know that building.
Yeah, no, that was a beautiful day. Yeah, you can't quite see Andy McNichol on his skis, but he was up there that day. He was skiing with a paraglider, which is pretty cool. Right, if nobody's got a question, I've got one to kick things off.
I'll tell you what, I'll go just a quick one then,
Yeah.
Sam. It's like for me, when I first started doing the cross-country flying, it was really just trying to get as far down the ridge as possible initially, and then just kind of bombing out a little bit further away from the ridge, and then maybe flicking over the back at Mount Cabe and coming down at Ringmer. What was it for you? Your first few flights away from the hill. Where did you get to?
That's a good question. So my first thermal flight was at Ditchling Beacon, and we'd gone up there early. We got up there like 8 o'clock in the morning, something like that, on a September day maybe, and we were just going back and forwards because we saw the wind was good, and all of a sudden I felt, this feels good, and I started going round, and oh my god, and before you know it, you're at 1,500 feet, and you're thinking this is the best thing in the world. But then I did get back to the ridge. But my first cross country must have been to Asda, from Devil's Dyke to Asda.
In the car park.
Which
Where
aisle?
did you land?
Yeah. So there's a traveller camp just near Asda, and I landed right next to that. And I'm moving my wing up quite fast. Not that I've got anything against them, but you never know. I hear stories from Johnny Carr and stuff of people nicking his hang glider back in the day. So, right, mate?
You're good, right?
Next to your friend.
And then the next one was the standards, over the back from Mount Caburn, landing Ringmer, 5k. But then the next one, after my third flight, was actually a 40k XC from Mount Cavan, and that was just like the best moment of my life to date. It was incredible. I didn't do very well, everybody else just disappeared off in front of me and stuff like that, but I didn't care. It was just absolutely amazing.
And that got the bug.
Yeah, that was, But then 2 weeks after that, I thought I knew it all and destroyed my foot. So, I was very proud of that flight, and then, it happens after Pride. Usually a big fall. So that was basically the start of it. And then 7 months later, I got back into it again, did some BCCs, and
So recommend the BCCs as a bit of a stepping stone.
definitely. Yeah, BCCs are fantastic. It's just everybody's in it together. Everybody retrieves everybody else. It's such a great learning community. I would still do it today. I'm still happy to go and do BCCs today. It's really fun.
Right in for them, have you?
Sorry?
You got your pilot right in?
No. Strangely, for BCCs, you can still be a CP. There's leeway for BCCs.
It's about the only way now.
Yeah.
You can do a cross country as a CP.
Yeah, you can still do it as CP. Unfortunately, the weather's been so awful the last couple of years that we've only had a few BCCs here and there. But you go and see other sites that you just wouldn't normally go and visit. And it's a big group of pilots. You learn so much. It's just fantastic. And then you go up to Wales and the Dales and everywhere. I love it. It's good stuff. Yeah. Right.
When did you start, Sam?
Sorry.
When was that Cavan fly?
That was September 2018. Yeah, 15th of September 2018. I always remember that.
Sad.
Yeah, because normally you just gradually get better. So
Where'd you come down on that flight?
it was northeast of Heathfield, a place called I can't remember its name now.
And how did you find sort of landing out completely?
Well,
It's a bizarre feeling, isn't it?
Yeah.
For the first few times.
I came down on a brown field.
Yeah.
It was sloping away from me. It was a really bad idea. Brown fields are just going to be generating thermals, and so it was really unstable. Lucky I was on a B glider. And because it was sloping away from me, it just took forever to actually get on the ground. It was, I didn't know anything. I had about less than 25 hours at the time. So, yeah.
Did you land by a pub?
No, but I did land by a shop, which is second best.
Were you pilot rated at that time?
I was not, no. Which is one of the reasons why I destroyed my foot 2 weeks later. It's because I was desperately trying to get the 25 hours so that I could actually get pilot rated and legally go and do XC. I was not expecting to do 40k XC that day, that's for sure. Okay, enough about me.
Sam, this is all about you.
No, please. Do we have any questions about anything? Just absolutely anything about thermaling, about trees, about anything. I've got a good one from the last time we did this. Somebody asked how you find the lifty lines and how you follow those lifty lines and actually get into the thermal in front of the hill, because that's a big part of it, pushing out in front of the hill and finding the core of the thermal and actually getting high is something that you really need to know. And I thought that at the time we didn't quite answer it as well as we could. I think it came late in the presentation. But the good news is that you're already doing it. So when you fly actively, you feel the right wing tip go up, and then you fly actively. You put in maybe an input, maybe a little bit of lean to counter that little bit of lift, right? So what you're actually doing there, what's actually happening is you're getting a little bit of lift on the right wing. There's probably lift in that direction. So instead of flying actively, just lean a bit more in that direction and go towards that lift. I mean, maybe this is a bit too basic. I don't know. But yeah, flying actively is the basis of how you find thermals and how you find lifty lines. It's really important.
Can you define flying actively for me?
Yeah, sure. So, well, like I was just saying, you if you feel it, you can feel it usually in your bum. It goes like this, your seat, and that means that there's usually something pushing the right side of your wing up, or the left side is going down. Either one means that there's better air on this side, right? And so, well, when you fly actively, you counter that because you don't want your wing to be moving all over the place like this. Flying actively is also about keeping the glider pitch stable above your head, using the brakes to make sure it's not going backwards and forwards. But flying actively is also making sure that it doesn't roll around like this. And so when it does roll, lean into it, but perhaps lean a bit more in that direction. You'll probably find if you follow that rule, then you'll find a lifty line out to a thermal, and up you go. Job's a good one.
Sam, quick one on kit. A lot of people have been asking me about moving on from open harness to pod harness. When did you kind of do that? And your thoughts on it?
That's a good one. Probably I was still at B when I got a pod harness, so it was a high B. I reckon it was probably about 2020, 2021.
How many hours in something would that have been?
Maybe 100 hours, I want to say, something like that. Maybe, yeah.
How do you find the transition from one to the other?
I loved it, and it was fantastic. It was warm. That's the important thing. Having your legs and your feet dangling in the cold wind is not much fun. I did miss looking down. I love that feeling of just looking between my legs and seeing the world like Google Maps. But yeah, the benefits of the pod harness were fantastic. But I don't think you should be moving up until you've mastered landing.
I was going to say that
Yeah.
maybe another pod harness. I've no desire to move on yet.
Yeah.
I enjoy being in a harness and I can look from the legs and all that. And is it really? It's not. You don't have to have one, do you, for cross country? I mean, you can also, especially if you're going to go abroad and it's not that cold anyway.
Yeah, I know several pilots who are very advanced pilots who don't fly pod harness. Yeah.
So won't hold you back too much.
No. I mean, you do get some performance advantages.
Yeah, there's a bit of
at
performance.
that level,
But if you're not competing, that doesn't matter.
going downwind, it's not going to make a huge amount of difference.
I've never suffered. I mean, I probably haven't flown enough and got high enough, but I've never suffered with the cold much.
Or
Maybe because I've
Maybe
I've been in the motorbike for 40 years.
right, yeah, that was
So I'm used to being in the cold, and I just find warm clothing keeps me warm. So well, it's not really that. There's no desire to move on to one at the moment. But it's not. I mean, it won't help me at all.
No. I mean, warmer is probably the best thing about it.
It's comfortable. Where it sticks your instruments as well, it sticks them right in front of you.
That's true.
The benefit to that.
Yeah. I mean, in March, April, it can be -4, -5 at cloud base.
Yeah.
And
I'll be up there soon, mate.
And then you add wind chill to that, which generally takes off 10 degrees, 8 to 10 degrees. You can easily be at -15. So warmth does become a factor.
And you're not moving then, are you?
Yeah. But for going onto pods, definitely get one with a seat board in it. Going on to something like a lightness without a seat board, I wouldn't recommend that. I've tried a lightness, so It's courses for courses, but I would definitely go from a seat-boarded open harness to a seat-boarded pod harness first. That's the upgrade track that I took, and I was perfectly happy, except that my harness was too small. So I couldn't wait to get out of it and try a proper one.
Could I ask the same question on the wings? So if you take it started on an ANA,
No, I started on a Buzz Z4, which is a low B, very low B.
and then as you progress through the different grades, what percentage increases were you getting on your XC flight? The result of the kit?
It's really hard to say, because as the kit improves, so do you. So, I mean, you look at people doing 300-kilometre triangles on an ENA in the Alps. That's insane. So it's not really. You can't. It's really hard because you just really can't tell what's the difference there. But I think if you're completely bored of your wing, if you know it inside out, and you've done an SID on it, and you're really happy, then, and it doesn't scare you very much anymore. Now, flying should always scare you, to be sure about this, But if you're feeling that it's holding you back, then it might be the time to try a higher class wing. But don't rush into it. There's no need to. You can learn a lot from the lower wings. I mean, Gandhi's flying a B wing all through the summer for ages. Now he's just gone on to the Photon. So and he did really. He's an incredible pilot, and he does really well, and he beats the rest of us in thermals most of the time. So.
I've got questions then.
Yeah, sure.
When you go on glide, and you've got to the top of your thermal, or how high you want to get, do you think in terms of polar curve and speed to fly when you're searching for the next thermal?
I've begun to do that more, but generally when you're doing downwind flights, it's quite simple. If it's a good strong day, then you're on the speed bar, and if it's a weak day, then you're not. That's generally how you fly, and then you can do graduations in between. I don't think about the polar curve very much. It's not something that I'm quite a techie person. I love my instruments and I love having to see all of that stuff. I've got speed to fly on my UD there, but I never look at it. It's a lot of it is about feel. If you're consistently getting 3, 4 up, 5 up thermals, then you'll just be on the speed bar every time you glide. But if you're only getting 1, 2 meters per second thermals, then you generally slow it down and you do more on trim speed. And downwind is not so important for all of that stuff anyway.
Do you get what he means by that? So there's polar curve, which is like the speed to fly, but as the day is better, you can fly quicker. Have you read up?
I've read that in the 50 ways to fly better.
Yeah.
The gains are minimal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, over a certain, I'm not going to.
It's past 2, is it?
Yeah.
Which is it's not a lot.
No, I know, it's crazy.
Do you put a lot of planning into your flights before, the day before, with the weather and the mask and
Yeah.
to see how far and what to expect? And
I'm usually the one on the group going, thermal's coming up tomorrow, guys. Possible day tomorrow. But yes, if there's a day that goes past where I haven't looked at windy and sky sight, then it's a weird day. Even in the winter, even now.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that your 2 key sites that you look at? Is it windy and
Windy and sky sight, yes.
and what was the one?
Sky sight. That one's a subscription. It's a bit more expensive, but
and RASP at all, Sam, or did you used to?
occasionally.
Yeah.
Occasionally, but RASP is based on the GFS model, which is the free US one. It's just not as accurate as something like ECMWF or UKV. So these are different weather models. I don't know if you know about this stuff, but yeah, in Windy you can select your weather model that you want, and they each have varying resolutions, and so the higher resolution stuff only goes a few days in the future, but it's far more accurate. Whereas GFS, very low resolution, but it can be weeks and quickly. But yes, planning out absolutely, and also we will usually maybe put a task in if it's a good day, where we're just going to fly from here to here, and then you might declare it on.
And you mainly sticking to our side, or do you sort of go right off to Wales next weekend because it's.
We do go abroad quite a bit. Not abroad, sorry. We do go around the country quite a bit. Yeah. But it's I don't get to go out that much. I can fly in Sussex a lot of the time, but I don't get to go to the other sites a great deal because I'm constrained in my hours a lot of the time. I fly in the middle of the day and then work either bookend either end. So a lot of the guys go to Milk Hill and Golden Ball and all those other fantastic sites, Leckhampton and things like that. But I've only ever flown from Milk Hill once, I think. Just
Really?
Yeah. Little 70k. And yeah.
Not held you back, is it? You're doing well.
Thanks.
Sam, do you put waypoints to areas where you've got good lift before? Say, if you're flying out of Mount Caven, would you put a waypoint where you've got a good thermal or a good trigger previously, or you just go by feel on the day?
Yeah, I don't do that. I probably should, but that's too much overhead. It's too much to think about on the day, and the thermals are always moving from place to place. There are some ground triggers that maybe work every time if the wind is in the exact same direction, but every day is different. I find you can't ever say that place is definitely going to work.
So what are you using instead?
I use the clouds mainly, and birds, and failing that, then I'll be other paragliders obviously. Failing that, then I'll be looking at the ground to see if there's any clues down there. I've got a kind of saying: if you don't want to be on the ground, don't look at it. Obviously, that's really, really bad advice in a lot of situations. If you're low, then you're definitely picking out possible landing zones, and you will probably be trying to look for any kind of break in the trees, or lake or river, or a slight mound, or a small industrial estate. I once got away from this tiny industrial estate that I was only a few hundred feet above. It's just fantastic, got me straight to bed. But most of the time I'm actually not looking at the ground at all. I'm looking at clouds. I would say if you're above 1,500 feet, then everything that you need to know is in the air, and looking at the ground doesn't give me a great deal. So yeah, always looking at the clouds to make sure that your crowd you're going to is going to be working when you get there, and checking the sea breeze front coming past, all of that.
Have you always had like a goal each flight?
No, not at all. I've only recently started doing goals. In fact, last year was the first time I actually hit a UK goal. I've got goals plenty of times before in comps, but I've only really started doing them recently and actually hitting them.
And what about progression in terms of like every flight you have, like, oh, I want to achieve this?
No, I would say I just want to go further and spend more time in the air. You know, that's what it's all about. Spending as long as possible in the air because it's just my favourite place. It's my happy place. So if I could go somewhere and then turn around and then come back again, I would.
You hate them.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think, Sam, but a couple of times I'm starting to progress and starting to get a little bit further, you know, doing a 30k and then a 50k. But then I think you've got to start thinking about actually flying the day, haven't you, as opposed to trying to keep beating, you know, what you've done before. And if that day's only going to give you 60k, for instance, say, 60k, you should be disappointed.
No,
you know,
absolutely.
I started to go down that route of thinking, you know, why I'm only doing this distance, but that's kind of all you can achieve with, you know, the skills and equipment you've got at the time.
100%, yeah. But I love going at sea, and I will probably, even if it's going to be 20k, I will probably do it. Because I love the adventure of landing out somewhere and figuring out my way back home. Yeah, it's fantastic. And you know, I went exil from Beachy Head in October. And I thought I was going to be landing, you know, just a bit further back behind the pub somewhere. But yeah, that turned into a 40k exil.
So where was the initial thermal coming out there? Initial lift?
You can probably have a look. I brought this, so I may as well use it.
Just want to ask you said goals. Are you talking about personal goals, or is that another kind of goal like your club before?
Oh yeah, well he was referring to actual goals, like waypoint, having a goal. But yeah, I was also referring to like personal goals as well.
Okay, here's where we find the data.
So you need the satellite dish on.
So this is a site I use that I find quite useful for tracking flights. I'll show you why in a second.
What site is that?
This is paraglidinglogbook.com. Now we're on 4G, so it might be a little bit slow updating and stuff. But what's useful about this is that you can just have a look, see. You line it up, you look down the thermal there, you can say, okay, that initial thermal is coming from the sea. And I mean, you know, you do have to think about wind at different layers, but generally,
It's probably triggered by the coast, isn't it?
yeah, you can say that's where I got that thermal from. Was a sea thermal. Now that one did peter out, and then you get this one here, which you could say because it's curving along like that, you know, it's curving upwards along here. Then you could say that may well have come from the sea as well, and then it's just the winds at altitude, which is just pushing it back. But yeah, where the next one was, where it was, and searching for it, you've got to really, if you lose a thermal, odds are it is still there somewhere. You just have to cast around and try and figure out where it is. Also, you've got to think about 3 dimensions.
What do you do when you lose thermal?
Yeah. So if I lose the thermal, I will generally do a wide arc, but I'll be trying to think about where the thermal might have gone. Right. So if you fall out, you generally know whereabouts you may have fallen out the thermal. So if you've fallen out the leeward side of the thermal, it'll be, you'll be coming out of here. Probably. Should we do some fancy stuff? It might be easy to just do this by hand, but I like my tech. It's an empty whiteboard. You can do it. Right. Okay, so let's just. So there's your thermal. Here you're going to have so the wind is going this way, and do you know more about thermal theory? The stronger parts of the thermal are going up faster, so they're getting pushed. They're getting pushed this way. They're getting pushed to the right here. Less than the weaker parts of the thermal. So the thermal will do this, and you have your stronger core here, and then it will gradually fade away like that. So if you've fallen out of the thermal here, then you're going to be going down, and you turn around, you come back, and you think, hang on a sec, where's the thermal? It should be, sure, it was right here. If you've fallen out the back of the thermal, then you're actually going to have to go quite a lot further to get back into it. So you can actually head way further back towards the thermal than you think you need to go before you get it again. But falling out the front of the thermal, dead easy. You're usually going straight back into it. So it's always good to. This is another reason to stay in the core. Obviously, the best place to be in a thermal is in the core anyway. But yes, you're trying to think not just in 2 dimensions, because that's fairly easy, but you've got to think in 3 dimensions as well about where it might be. They don't call it 3D chess for nothing. Yeah. Any other questions?
How much planning do you do with regard to airspace, and do you rely solely on your instruments for that, or have you got a mental map of what you're going to be aiming for?
Yeah, airspace, a lot of planning. If you're doing flights, around here, it's fairly easy. It's fairly simple. Do you guys know what the airspace is around here? What it looks like, and how to find out?
It's probably only something you touch on when you start thinking about an XC flying, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, but it's worth having a look. I like is it flyxc.app? Yeah. Is a superb.
Was it flyxc?
Yeah, flyxc.app. Does it not say it there? Oh. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. What's going on? Okay, hang on a second. Technical issues. Oh, I know mine. Sorry. No, doesn't matter. Okay, never mind. I might need to switch that off and on again.
Pull the lead out and on.
Sorry?
Pull the lead out.
Sorry. Just switch it off and back on again.
Oh, it's connected wirelessly, is it?
Yeah. Okay, so around here, we know that it's 5.5 usually, unless you're like Ditching Beacon or just north of Devil's Dyke where it's 4.5. And then you go further north and it becomes 2.5. I've been on on one flight, I was getting really close to the 1.5, the round Gatwick, and I was watching the planes catching up. I was going, taking off, and I was going, hang on a second, I'm getting really close. And I thought, I know there's a 1.5 around here somewhere. So 1,500 feet, by the way. Yeah, okay. I know that there's a 1.5 airspace around here somewhere, but it wasn't showing on my UDI, and I was like, really bricking it. And so I was actually on Messenger, on Telegram, to my friends, going, "Can somebody tell me where the 1.5 is?" And they said, yeah, it's just to the north. Just stay south of there. Go west around there. I was like, oh, phew, okay, that's not too bad. So yeah, it's you have to do a lot of thinking about airspace because it's not fun going. And they're getting hotter on airspace as well. It's not a good idea to go into it. I think historically people didn't really care too much about going into airspace, but and I know it happens a lot in like Spain and sometimes in France and Italy, where they just say, "Oh, don't worry about the airspace." But over here, yeah, you can actually get prosecuted if you go in. So I think a lot about airspace.
It's worth planning a route, seeing where the wind's going to take you. So, okay, it's going to take me to Canterbury. And then saying, well, what happens if the wind was off by 15, 20 degrees, both ways? And then saying, well, what could I hit? What helicopter pads or whatever, what prisons and those sort of things. And that's probably just good planning. And then you start building up a picture of where you can go and where you can't.
Yeah, you can actually fly over prisons.
Yeah, there's one
File drugs then.
I've not. I know you can fly to Lewis prison for sure.
Yeah.
Because I once aborted a flight because I was about to fly over it. And then I looked it up and I was like, no, perfectly fine to fly a paraglide over a prison. I thought, what? That's a bit
It's a
weird.
restricted area, is it?
No, not at all. It should be, I reckon. I reckon, up to a certain height, say like 1,000 feet or something, it probably should be, but it's not at all.
You don't want to land in the.
No. But yeah, there's lots of time where airspace has grounded me as well, because especially is it Headcorn? Yeah, Headcorn Airfield. It's a big old airfield on the way up northeast, and they do lots of skydiving there. To be fair, and so you don't really want to be in amongst that.
It's a ground quite high as well, isn't it? So it's one that you literally have to go
you
south
have to
or
go
north,
around.
basically.
And then so you usually, if you're there, it usually means that there's quite a bit of south in the wind that's pushing you up there. So you literally have to go completely crosswind to go around it, and that's super annoying.
So that's ground traffic. What about other air traffic? Have you had like near misses or people waving at you?
Oh yeah. So gliders especially, and
Are you going to show them a picture?
yeah. And wait a sec. Let me just see if we can connect to this thing.
It's surprisingly busy up there, isn't it, once you get away?
Yeah. The jets look really, really large when you're 1,000 feet below airspace, because you would think that they don't use. There's the step in the airspace. So say this is 5,500, and there's 4,500. And you think, the jets, they probably leave a wide margin. I don't think they use it all. No, they use the whole bloody thing. I've seen some jets too close for comfort.
You're talking about big airplanes.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, like commercial jets coming into Gatwick. Right, let's just get this going. Yes, thank you. Right, let's learn going from the video. So we just get stuck. Cool, and yeah, you do get a lot of people waving at you, especially when you're. This was the flight from Beachy Head, and sorry, it's it's vertical. But then I ran into this guy flying around me, and then he gave me an aerobatic display. Yeah, it was Hugh. I thought it was probably Hugh because he was flying really close to me. It was amazing. Actually, at one point he flew underneath me. I could turn around, I could see him coming from behind me, and he flew underneath me and went up like that in front of me, and then put it on one wingtip and went round and down. So
did you know it was you at the time?
I didn't, but I suspected. I thought that's probably you. And when I landed, I was like, "Is that you?" And he, interestingly, he couldn't. He wanted to go to. He was at Ringmer, taking off from Ringmer. He wanted to get to what's it called, where he's normally based.
Lation?
Yeah, Lasham. But he couldn't get. The clouds weren't working for him in that direction as well. And when on this day, I was flying up there, and I was thinking, I can get further. The clouds are great, but there was nothing. And then at the end of the day, I thought I'd made a big mistake and somehow missed it. And he was like, no, the clouds weren't working. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, you can't do it in a airplane.
Exactly. Yeah,
you're okay.
And that was 50k, was it that day?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was 50k with wiggles.
Yeah.
Which is also Beachy Head's
New record.
slight record.
Yeah. Right. Let's see.
Why is it so difficult?
No one really tries.
Yeah. That's true.
Don't take it.
But yeah,
You've got to have the right conditions. The conditions are very rarely perfect. You have to have thermals from the sea, and you've got to have thermals from the land. And so, around October is probably the only time that you're actually going.
yeah. XC season is Beachy Head doesn't work as well.
Yeah.
Because of the sea.
Yeah, you've only got a tiny bit of land where the thermals can really come from. So you have to transition from your sea thermal, like you saw, from the sea thermal to the land.
High Nova's probably a better place, you'd think.
Yeah.
Not that day.
And then if High Nova's working, maybe Bo Peep's working, and that's a much better place.
Yeah.
So there's two other better places.
Absolutely. So in the summer you don't get any sea thermal.
You don't fly beach in the summer. You've heard that?
Don't fly beach in the summer unless the wind is fairly strong, because it's you get the cold sea just holds this layer of almost like an inversion, this lazy air. So when you get into that, it's generally the wind isn't moving, and you will just drop down to the beach. So I never fly coastal in the summer, unless there's a decent amount of wind, and there's loads of other people doing it. Right, let's just quickly show airspaces. Floor below, don't want 3,000 metres, that's way too much. Floor below. Right, yeah, looks really complicated, but we are only interested in this area. Okay, it's really simple for us. If we're taking off from K-Band here, all of this in the green is 5.5, and is actually over here somewhere. It's actually a bit of 6,000. I'll probably ever get up to that. 5,500 feet. So that's dead simple. And you can see, Devil's Dyke here, just into the 4. This is the 4.5. Now you can do some good distance in the 4.5, and you can come all the way around. If you take off from Bo Peep, then and you head in this direction, then things get complicated around here. So that is 4.5, and then that is also 4.5. But you've got to thread the needle up through here. Bloody Farnborough.
Is that where Hugh and Mark went? underneath there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I could find their track and overlay it on here, and you'd be certain that they would have probably just clipped that and then gone straight to them.
What altimeter setting are you working from?
I generally use my GPS altitude. I think that over a certain amount of time it's going to be more accurate than relying on barometric, because barometric sometimes you've got to set it has to auto configure itself when it's on the ground, right? And the pressure, I don't know, the pressure. I'm also, I like tech, obviously, and so the idea of relying on GPS because it should be more accurate over a longer period anyway. Then I feel that I would rely on that, and they use GPS altitude in comps as well. So for me, that's what I go for.
Is that the same as QNH?
No, not at all. So QNH is based on barometric pressure from wherever you took off. So it's got to get your altitude via GPS, which is what it does, and then it's got to measure the pressure, and then after you've taken off, then it figures out how high you are based on your difference in pressure.
What does do you know the Skytrax? What are they using?
Oh, no, I've never used the Skytrax. Anybody?
Skytrax, what's the yellow?
I've got it, but I couldn't tell what it's.
No.
Tell us
what
what GPS, don't forget about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I always just go off the GPS altitude. Now, it can be inaccurate over a short period of time. If you just turn it on and then look at your GPS altitude, it's probably way off. But given enough time to calibrate, then it'll become more accurate than the barometric altitude. I've seen my barometric altitude be like 500 feet out compared to my GPS.
So it's quite significant.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're through it.
Now, especially if you're trying to, I'm trying to leave enough gap. I usually leave about 500 feet between airspace and me to get out of the climb. If there's a cloud, if it's blue, then I'll leave 1,000 feet before getting out of the climb, because if it's blue, you can't tell where the thermal ends, or if there's another bigger thermal right next to you. That's
So in
going
a 3.5 or in a 4.5, you'll leave 3,500 feet. If it's a blue day.
If it's a blue day, yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the time, you will find that you will actually get out with 500 feet because of the unpredictability of blue days. Yeah.
You're flying along, you've been pulled into airspace, which you do.
You get out of it
Pull your ears and
as soon as possible. You can use whatever descent technique you're most familiar with and you're happiest with. I would spiral. Most of the time, I don't need to spiral. I just push full speed bar and head towards the edge of the cloud, and that'll be enough. But if you've got a drogue chute, then throw that and go full speed bar. If you're happy spiraling, sometimes I've had to spiral out of airspace. Spiral out of clouds anyway, in comps.
Could you explain that blue day thing? I've seen blue days, no clouds.
Yeah.
But what's the difference with thermals without, I don't know.
Okay, so
Good question.
yeah, that's a good question. So do you know about inversions?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so a blue day is when the inversion happens at an altitude that's below, sometimes it can be just below, the 100% saturation altitude, so the altitude at which the thermals form clouds. So if your inversion is just sitting there blocking the thermals from getting to the altitude that they form clouds, then you'll have a blue day. So you'll still have strong thermals, but that capping
never get to
inversion, they never get to the 100% saturation altitude.
And how does that make a difference to your? Will you still only thermal to that height.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's worse actually because you will when you hit the inversion, it's totally, you'll know about it. You'll be going, I was in a really good thermal, and now I'm just in this piece of crap, and I'm not getting any higher. And then you'll eventually, it took me quite a few times of hitting the inversion on multiple flights. It twigs, and then you think, oh right, that's what's going on. I'm bumping underneath the inversion, and it's nasty. And in some cases it can be dangerous, especially if you've got violent thermals and strong winds. What they do is when they hit the inversion, they generally start rolling around the top of it. And that's why it's turbulent.
And how did that? You said you keep lower than the airspace, even lower than the airspace on a blue day. Why was that?
Because you can't see the blue. You can't. When you've got clouds, you can say, where the edge of the thermal is, right? So you can leave 500 feet because you can go, right, okay, I'll just power to the edge of the cloud and I'll be fine.
On a blue day, you worry about hitting the inversion.
Well, no, on a blue day, you can't see the edge of the cloud. So you don't know where the edge of the thermal is. So in fact, what on a normal day might be a beautiful cloud streak, with loads of thermals underneath it. On a blue day, you say, well, I'm just going to head that way, and then you're just going up and up and up, and then you go, okay, right, I need to head 90 degrees this way in the hope that the thermal ends.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I understand that.
Yeah, that's why.
You can't see the lift, and it's a bit easier to see the lift when you've got clouds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always very wary of blue days. They're lovely though. They're so warm on blue day, When it's because you're spending a lot of your time under clouds, and it can be really cold up there. And then once you come out into the sun, it's the best feeling. So thermally on a blue day is lovely, but
you're guessing a lot. On a blue day, you've just got to guess. You've got to try somewhere and just.
Yeah. I mean, you can't see the thermals unless there's something in them, like other air users, or bits of fluff coming up, or so yeah, you have to head. Generally, I would go 90 degrees to the wind direction, because if your thermals are likely to be, it actually depends, but they're more likely to be spread out in a line downwind, and so the best way to get out of them is go 90 degrees to the wind direction and head out that way. That's more likely to work. But a lot of the time I just power downwind on my course line and hope that it peters out before the end.
Get a bar on, you should get right.
Exactly, full bar.
Sam, I think we just have a 5-10 minute break there.
Yeah.
You're all right with that?
Let's do it.
Recharge glasses, pop the loo, this, that and the other. And think about any questions for the second hour.
Cool. Okay, right, yeah. I've got a few bits of just general advice, which I see happen again and again and again and again and again. Wear some shorts or trousers with zip-up pockets, and put your car keys in the zip-up pocket and zip them up. My God, the amount of times that we see people lose their car keys on Mount Caburn and Devil's Dyke and everywhere, it's ridiculous. Zip-up pockets or button-up pockets at least. Put your keys in that. Trust me, it's you'll not regret it. And the other thing that I see so often as well is do not leave your kids in your car overnight. The amount of times that I've seen on various forums and messages of people's cars getting stolen. And I don't know about you, but whenever I put my kit in my car, it triples the value of my car. So it's not worth it. Don't leave it in the car overnight. The amount of times I've seen somebody stole my car and all my kit's gone. It's just heartbreaking, but it's not worth it. So those are two really good non-actual flying bits of advice, but you see it happen so much. Don't lose your car keys. Right. Is there anything else? Yeah. Okay. Right. Has anybody else got any questions?
Can I ask about instruments?
Yeah, definitely.
So I've got Fly Sky High and a Fly Master, just GPS Fly Master.
Okay.
Is that enough?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't need a tracker.
Well, you can track.
I've got a track with Fly Sky High, but you don't need one a sort of
fly.
Or a sort of something that sort of beeps at you and sort of an inReach or something. You don't need that for
No, I mean, I got an inReach on mine, but you know, I'm flying all over the place. And actually, you'd be surprised at the amount of places, even on the southbounds, where I've landed, I've not had mobile phone reception. So you can imagine, well, if you crashed there, then you're screwed. Yeah. I always fly with mine because it's relatively cheap, and it's always a backup. You know, just really useful to have that.
That's called an inReach.
Yeah, this is an inReach Mini. They've brought out the version 2 now, so the version 1 is quite cheap and it still works perfectly well. So,
is that a subscription on that? So
yeah, it is a subscription, but it's
Small
not very,
amount.
it's not very much. No, and it works out at I can't remember exactly how much it is. I should know, but it's not a huge amount, and it's your life, isn't it?
Mm.
So
It's about 12
Yeah, you can use your Flymaster for the beeps to know when you're going up, and then you can use your phone
for the airspace.
for the airspace.
yeah,
And that's good enough.
That's good enough. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, Fly Sky High is the best app, I think. I don't use it. I use XeTrack because I've got an Android phone. But Fly Sky High just looks amazing. I wish they did it for Android. I would probably use it. Yeah. But yes, if you want to get one of these, you can. Oh yeah, we were going to talk about Waypoint Challenge. That's right. Okay, does everybody know what the Waypoint Challenge is?
Yeah.
No.
Waypoint challenge.
Okay. Alright, so the Waypoint Challenge is a series of waypoints spread out along our flying areas, and it's set up by this good man here, and this is Andrew. Everybody, if you don't know him, he's one of the best pilots in the club.
country.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we basically, the challenge is to get as many waypoints as you can during the year. So you just, all you have to do is fly through one of these little circles, and then upload your track once you're done to this website at the end of it, and so you can then get on the ladder. So if we have a look, so the results this year will be nothing because the weather's been really
I
poor.
need to update it. Sorry.
Yes, I noticed that. But if we look at James, he has managed to get every single waypoint. This is
Amazing.
over all the years that they've been running. It's only been running for like 3-4 years now. Something like that.
3, I think.
Yeah, he's managed to get every single waypoint on there, which is fantastic. And he's also, last year he managed to do, in one flight, he managed to get 31 waypoints in one flight, and then flew to Canterbury. I mean,
And that's on the sea as well. So
Yeah.
people saying, do I need?
Yeah,
Right.
Incredible.
And he's very light as well, so he has as much performance as probably a high B.
Yeah.
Is there a minimum of height? I mean, isn't just
No.
cycle around there?
Give it a go.
Flying bike.
That's a lot of cycling.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that.
So if you were going to take off, I don't know where, but and then you just try and head for those. You put those points into your
Yeah.
tool.
So this is what I'm going to show you next. Let's hope this works. this is the app that I use is an app called XC Guide.
Is that for Android?
It's for both, I think. I can't remember. Let me just...
Do you use a different app for the Waypoint Challenge?
Yeah, I switch between XC Track and an XC Guide while I'm flying.
You need Fly Sky High, don't you?
yeah. Fly Sky High I think probably does it. Yeah. All right, so this is XC Guide. I don't know. Hands up, who's got Apple? The rest have got Android. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So that's a little less than half. So this is probably going to be useful. I mean, I don't know what it's like with Fly Sky High, but it's probably quite similar.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. This is XC Guide. Now it's really simple with this. All you have to do is press on that middle area there, and go waypoints and tasks, and then you can waypoints from taskvault.net there. You can download, you scroll down, Southern Comp 3.0, soon it will be Southern Comp 4.0 probably.
Have you uploaded these yourself to your phone?
No, I don't know who did these actually. Megan.
Oh, okay.
Was it not? Is it not
No, I mean these waypoints that you get on this app. Do they count? Are they?
Yeah, so you can upload them at the website taskvault.net.
Ah, okay.
I thought that somebody else was doing it, but maybe I did it and I don't remember.
Yeah, probably.
And then,
Or maybe, yeah.
so you basically can download them just like that, and then you go into your settings down here, and you go, where is it? It's in navigation, and then we go, where have we got tasks on Waypoint Challenge. We go Waypoint Challenge file, then we can select Southern Comp 3.0. And go back, and hopefully, there we go. Then we've got all of the waypoints that are in there. So if I'm just going to start a flight. So flight log, I think we have to, replay flight. So I'll just do one from, one that's fairly large. Yeah, that one looks good. 13th of September. Just go forward now. Right. So we should, right. Oh yes, that's right. We go in here. And then you go, where is it? Waypoints and tasks again, and then you go start waypoint challenge. Right, what this does, look at that, is it points you to your nearest waypoint that you haven't got yet, and it tells you right here that it's 400 meters north of you, and you can get to it at a glide of 1-to-1, which is fantastic. You're definitely going to be able to go and get that waypoint, and it's fantastic. And as soon as you go over it, I don't know if I'm actually going to hit that one on this, but it's only 130 meters away, so I might hit it. It makes a lovely noise. And then you've claimed that waypoint, and then it will just take you to the next one that you haven't got, and super easy.
So the waypoints at ground level, and you fly over them, or are they at altitude?
Definitely there.
It's like a Major Morgan.
They're like columns of
Yeah.
a column from the ground level all the way up.
Okay.
There are 400 meters. Sorry.
It's a good cycle, yeah.
So is it 100 meters? I can't remember.
Pole, you can do your phone on the pole.
I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, it's just a column, a waypoint that you have to fly through. You don't have to fly right through the centre. They're a few hundred meters wide, and yeah, it's a really good way of having something to aim for in your flying. I love it. It's just
It's good for understanding your instruments as well.
Yeah.
I think for trying to do this in the air, to actually point and shoot at somewhere and get over the top.
Yeah.
Who's
It's
set
really
this
worthwhile.
up? I mean, who's chosen these points?
I just randomly chose them.
Yeah. Well, there's quite a few.
I tried to pick them like for like Devil's Dyke. You've got I don't know probably 10 for Caburn. Caburn you've probably got another 10. So the flights that we play around with are the most that you can push out in front. There'll be more like high level you can play around in the valley. And then there's loads just dotted around for when you kind of go XC. But there's loads, there's beginners that you can try and aim for. And you don't have to get back, so you could just go on like a long just downwinder or push into wind and
land
tip a few off.
Land.
Say, oh, I've got 4.
land on it.
Yeah. Scotland.
Tom, you did you done your first ones last year, didn't you? How did you find this sort of improving your
I
flying?
used flying quite high. Really nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Is it a similar experience with it?
Yeah, it just shows that it's just got the cylinders always on your screen, so you can put in a new waypoint or a new track, and then it will always be there, and you know when you're ticking them off.
And it shows you the ones that you've already done, right?
Which is the one for Android?
For that flight.
This is XC Guide.
XC guide.
Yeah.
For that flight, but not for overall.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So XC Guide will do it over the whole season.
Okay, that's
And
good.
so every time you take off, you'll have all of the ones in red, and it will only route you
No wonder it's so good.
towards. It will
This
only
one
route
had
you towards
upload
the.
to this one you can upload to the Summer Club.
Say again?
This one just automatically uploads.
No, it doesn't automatically upload.
Right.
So when you land, you've got to get your log.
The website that's created, it's got lots of instructions and stuff and setup and stuff, so you can go through it. And you basically upload your ICG file, which is a
all this
good thing to
information
do.
on the Southern Club website.
The Southern Club Waypoint website, yeah.
Right, okay, I'll just look that out.
Yeah, if you need help, just let us know.
Yeah. We can show you now.
No, it doesn't need to show me now because
It's a good way to improve your flying. Really.
Yeah, no, I need some goals just to give me things.
And it's good for CPs and for pilots as well, because there's CP target is on the ridge,
Yeah.
and there's pilot tasks, where you can push further away, if you're,
Yeah.
when you're authorised to do it.
I've also found, weirdly enough, that there are a lot of phones on the planes. It's really strange.
It's because most of them is like a
land
co-op or not a co-op, like a farm,
Pub.
Yeah,
pub,
or
yeah,
a
pubs,
church,
like,
a
yeah.
windmill,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I've found that I will get to a waypoint and then immediately have a fantastic film, which will just then allow me to get to the next film and then another film. So they're fantastic things to aim for. Especially
I think we passed each other about 4,500 feet above Furl last year, attacking different waypoints.
Yeah.
On the day you were flying back from the coast, about quite a long way
Yeah.
off as well. I believe, it was just a cracking day.
Oh,
Got up
yeah.
really high. It was a unique day, I think.
That was
And
a
we're all doing
fantastic-
triangles,
Oh, that's really
and
good.
I transferred my goals over in the air. It was so nice, and it went over to the waypoints as opposed to doing a cross country flight.
Yeah.
It was,
I got-
I mean,
21 that day.
it was 13, but yeah, it was just
It
cracking.
wasn't the James Chancellor 31, but I got 21. That was
Yeah.
That's
I
incredible.
remember waving at you. You were going one way and I was going the other way.
Yeah, no, I had a lovely flight. I've got a video of that as well.
That's my first day on the sub, wasn't it? I think you
Oh,
filmed
really?
it.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you filmed
I
it.
think you were heading back towards Furl and flying.
What was the last waypoint to fall?
Say again?
What was the last one?
The last one? What, the James got?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. You'd have to have a look at the track.
Some of them are quite.
and figure it out.
Tricky
Yeah,
ones, some real tricky
There's
ones.
some of them, they're very far away. Right, let's get rid of this. Unless anybody wants to talk about other
If you were to
instruments.
do the CP, so if I was the diagram and I wanted to do the CP one, now is it the same sort of thing but just a different files down
No,
there?
no, it's all the same file.
Okay.
What Andrew was talking about was that there are easier ones to get and there are more difficult ones to get. So,
Okay.
there's some that you can take off and glide to,
Okay.
and that. And
You're still
upload it.
staying within the vicinity. You can do a little
Yeah.
triangle or whatever.
Nope. Right, so the other app I use is XCTrack. If I am doing waypoints, I'll be switching between these apps. But I've also got my Doody, which is just ridiculously good. And so this I mainly just use for thermal centering. It's fantastic for that. And there's this graph here where it shows your altitude and it shows your change in altitude. And you wouldn't think that would be particularly useful, but actually having something, a visual reference that you have actually been going up for the last 10 minutes in this crappy 0.1 thermal is very useful, and also to see if you've been going down as well. So that looks like.
Once down high, so it's similar to Ferret. I really like it, especially with them.
That's good.
What's the good about the UD?
It does everything. It's much better now as well. It used to be a really, really bad operating system. Now it's based on Android. And it basically does absolutely everything you could possibly want. It is essentially a phone, but it's got this. It's got a FLAN aerial there as well. You can put a what's it called? A phone SIM in there. You can so it can be connected all the time. It's got the obstacle databases. It's got all of the airspace, everything. It just makes everything smooth. This latest version anyway. The older these, the 4s and 5s were bad.
It's very good for racing as well, isn't it?
Yeah, for
speed
comps.
to flies and stuff like that.
I mean,
6.
sorry?
That's 6.
It's UDM. It's called
UDN.
UDM. Yeah. And it's for example with comps as well. If you're headed away from the start line, and because you're trying to get into a good thermal before the comp begins, it'll tell you now leave, go towards the start line, so that you will cross the start line just at the perfect second to start the comp right in front of everyone.
So you know who's got UDs because they're all going.
Yeah. You will see everybody just suddenly turn and leave and go towards the start cylinder. I mean, there are other instruments that do that, but this just seems to be most fully featured that I've come across.
AI is going to play an interesting role in a few years, I imagine.
Yeah, God yes. Yeah, I mean it already is. You can get this XCTrack. You can get it to display on AR glasses. It will only do basic stuff like speed and vario, and you can probably put wind speed on it and stuff like that. You don't really want too much in front of your face. But yeah, it's going to be definitely very interesting. One of these days we'll probably be able to see thermals.
Yeah.
And we'll be able.
Yeah.
Right.
Sam, quick one. Flying with others, the benefits of flying in a gaggle and flying with a decent group of pilots.
Yeah, okay. Let's take this off. I can get sidetracked into instruments and stuff like that. Okay. Yeah, gaggle flying is, well, it just makes everything easier, usually. You can work together and you figure out where the cores or the thermals are. That's essentially the best part of gaggle flying. Everyone's going around. Usually, when you start a gaggle, you're going up in the thermal from Devil's Dyke or wherever, and everybody's going around, and you're always looking at them, seeing where they're going up, where they're going down, as you're all going around the thermal. And you're also feeling the air yourself, but it's very nice to have these cues as to where the strongest bit of lift is. Now, oftentimes, people will start searching, especially if the thermal gets below 2 or something like that. People will push out a little bit further. The more experienced ones, especially, will just push out and try and look around to see if there's anything else. You just kind of got to keep your eye on everyone. I mean, it's a good idea anyway, because you don't want to crash into anybody. But you've just got to keep your eye on absolutely everybody, what they're doing, where they're going, what's happening. And then when somebody starts going up faster than you, then if you can get to them, if they're not too far away, then everybody you'll find in that gang will just move over and get below them, and then all start going up faster. In comps, Russ says if you're making a decision in a comp, then you're doing something wrong. What that means is that sticking with the gaggle is really important to doing well in comps, because you've got so many brains in this gaggle all working together, trying to find the right lift. That you're always going to beat somebody who's gone off on their own and done whatever. They will usually be a lot further back than the lead gaggle. Also, when you're on glide, people generally tend to spread out. Obviously, if you're on glide yourself, you can only hit thermals that are right in front of you. But if there's a big long line of you spread out, then people will generally, you might get somebody over there hitting on maybe somebody over there, and then everybody comes in and flies together. It's fantastic. It's a great feeling as well, In comps, it's a little less. It's a little less nice, but when you're flying with your friends, it's really good, especially when you're on radio. Well, I got 3 up. It's a really good feeling. And do it as much as possible. I'd say get used to flying in fairly close proximity to people, because we have to. At Devil's Dyke on a big day, like we saw, was it Saturday? Yeah, that was getting a little crazy at times. But people were generally well behaved. I only had to do one avoiding manoeuvre that day, and I was a bit close to the ridge anyway. So yeah, it's a good way to get used to flying in gaggles like that.
I think one of the things I looked to do was try and understand whose wing was who. Who kind of flies at either my standard or just slightly beyond my standard. So you can try and keep up with them. So see who's in the vicinity, and I'm sure clearly I'm pimping off you, James, and these guys. So it's understand who's sort of slightly better than your standard.
Yeah. Absolutely. If you see Gabby go for something, then you should probably follow him.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Unless it's a really light day.
He likes playing chicken.
Yeah, oh god, he does. But yeah, people change their wings so often though. Yes. It's like, who's that? I know, that's just right.
Sam, there's a few low air timers and red ribbons here. What would you sort of say to them to, if they're looking to do XC in, say, I don't know, a year, 18 months' time, what would you be looking to do now, to try and push towards that?
Flying as much as possible. There's no substitute for being in the air, even on days when it doesn't look like there's going to be any thermals at all. As long as the wind strength's good enough, fly. Just get out there and fly. You learn so much, even if you're just ridge bashing. There will always be movement in the air. There's always something to think about, and try to think about, what just happened there? It's like, what was that? What was that feeling? And when you hit a thermal, you do hit a thermal. Try to think about, what side was that? Which side lifted up first? Which side did I have to apply the brake input and lean into? then that side, it will be the side that your thermal's on. So you should turn towards that. Try and think about what the wing is telling you as you're flying. You know, it's conveying all the information about the air to you through the risers and through the brakes, and sometimes visually. And you've got to learn the language of the wing, and the more you fly, the more you'll understand what the wing is doing. Also, landings. I mean, geez, top landings, bottom landings, or every kind of landings. It just practice. Don't be afraid of bottom landings. I still bottom land all the time. You've got to be able to be happy with bottom landing, because otherwise you'll never take off and you'll never get into that thermal and you'll never go cross country. It's really important that if you've got no other options, you just fine, okay, I'll bottom land. It shouldn't be any stigma about it. You get some good exercise getting back up to the top of the hill, and usually you can get away again. So yeah.
I think another thing is sometimes, like when we go XC, you're coming into land on a smaller area to go into, so it's a good practice rather than sort of a lazy landing coming down in a wider area. So it's something I try to do.
100%. Yeah.
What about the lowest for a save? If you hit a thermal, would you if you're going down 100 feet or at one point, do you know I've got to land, or it's too dangerous, like 50 feet?
I mean,
bit close to that building.
You generally will be, if you're okay. For me, if I'm under 500 feet, I'll have already had about 2 or 3 fields picked out as my landing zone. Once you get below 300 feet, you're almost certainly going to be landing. It's above ground, but I have had a 150-foot low save before, so it does happen, but it's quite rare. So I'm all right with landing out. It's if you've had a good day, you've been up high and then come down again. It's a good day, but I wouldn't push it. There's a few times where I have pushed it. I've gone, I've got to get back up, and then I wish I hadn't. You land in a field that's suboptimal. You might have rotor from the trees at the windward edge of the field, and then it's just been a nasty landing, and then you kiss the ground when you land. So I would say if you're getting low, really think about, especially on your first few XCs, really think about where you're going to be landing. It's probably the most important thing about going XC is when you get low, make sure you've got options. Think about the forest that's coming up. Think about if I go over that at this height, am I going to be able to glide out? Yeah, and also that forest, if it's windy, you don't want to be landing behind it. You want to be landing sides of it or in front of it. So yeah, always be thinking about landing options. Yeah.
Can I ask,
Yeah.
what preparation did you make for your retreat? If you're going XE, or what things do you have in place for when you land somewhere?
Fills his wallet.
Yeah.
Do you get a taxi? Or do you get a phone, or what do you do?
A network rail ticket, that gives you money off of trains. No, I love the adventure of going XC. I like landing in somewhere and going, right, how do I get home? And often I've landed in places and it's been like a 5-mile walk until I get somewhere that you can actually do something from. Sometimes the second this did happen once. The second car, because I put my thumb out, the second car that stopped was going all the way to Brighton, and furthermore they lived on the Devil's Dyke Road, and I was going back to Devil's Dyke, and so That's fantastic.
More often than not, you get lucky than unlucky.
Yeah.
Because you've got a big bag,
Yeah.
people are interested in what you're doing, you've just landed in front of them and they want to help you.
Yeah.
Most people want to help.
Yeah, and you generally don't look like an axe-wielding murderer. so I find that putting a thumb out, I've had so many good retrieves that way. Sometimes you can wait like half an hour, 45 minutes before somebody will stop. But a lot of the time it'll be quicker than that. I once got a retrieve from Lord Stone of Blackheath, who's a member of the House of Lords. So that was bizarre. But yeah, I've had loads of really good retrieves. You meet lots of interesting people. Generally, the people who stop for you are interesting people themselves.
Or axe-wielding murderers.
But they're still interesting.
Very true.
Do you wear the sign on the back that says you get in the Cross Country magazine? It says.
I haven't, no. I generally think if people are able to read that sign when they're zipping along at 30 miles an hour, then they probably shouldn't be reading it.
Right.
You know? I don't think that people can read that sign.
I think the other thing is, if you fly in the southern sides, if you come down, I don't know, 30 or 40k from one of our sites, a lot of these guys in the club are actually either watching your flight live, because there's plenty of geeks out there, or you put a message on Parachat or the other groups on there.
I said you near a pub and you said right.
I do every time, and I think 8 times out of 10 I've been picked up by guys from the club.
Yeah.
You know, because they've either lived nearby or they've been en route, you know, past where I've been.
There's a specific retrieve.
There's retreat groups as well.
Which is worth going on.
Yeah, if you don't know about the retrieve group, then just send me a message, ask me about it, and I'll send you information on how to get onto the retrieve groups. Very useful, really handy. But yes, a lot of the time, especially if it's short XE, just tell your mates, is anyone around?
If I'm getting low, I generally will try and glide towards a main road or a town, and then you know there's gonna be a bus or some sort, rather than landing in the middle of nowhere with a 5-mile walk. That's what I'll probably be doing. Or
train stations. I'm always looking for train stations.
Yeah, train stations are the gold ones because you're back in Brighton in no time.
Yeah. A lot of the time, I will, think, oh, can I? No, turn around, get back to that train station. This day is not working.
Yeah, and for us going to like Margate, there's a point where you go, I can't remember which one it is, but getting to Ashford, you just leapfrogged like 20, 30k avenue. So is it like the Pembrokeshire, those sort of areas? There's just nothing around, is there? That sort of way. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I do. Yeah.
Past,
Rysel, right?
past Battle, I think it gets hard, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's this just big area where you kind of got to go back up to Ashford before you can then come back down. Yeah.
My biggest paranoia about going XC is power cables.
That's a really good thing to be worried about. They
work anything to sort of help that fear, but I mean that's the only thing that scares me about going XC is power cables.
You can see them if you've got good eyesight.
I'm scared.
You can see the poles, you can see cables. You won't have if there's a field that you've chosen to land in, there's not going to be it's not going to be small enough to just have cables going all the way across it. There will be poles. If there's cables going across it, there will be poles.
So you find them pretty easy to spot.
Yes, I do. Haven't hit one yet.
No, I mean I'm not over paranoid, but it's the biggest fear.
It is an absolutely good thing to be paranoid about. I hate the thought.
When I went to Fly Spain, did a thing with them. One of the fields we had landing had a power cable running right next to it. I said, "Oh, make sure you get the panel, make sure you get it." And obviously I made sure I got over it, but it was just like, there's a fucking power cable. You've got to get over it.
I know, I get it. If you have a sudden collapse while going in over a power cable, it's
going under.
Yes, cabling, you've got a string and a railway line and a cable and a road.
It's a good size.
Yeah, this is true.
They're quite good for leaching thermals, though.
Yeah.
The big ones. Yeah.
The power line, the high tension power cables go over the Treaty Ridge. There's always a thermal. No, don't actually. Don't go there for it. But when you're going over it, there's just about always a bloody thermal.
Does it wick off the top of the pylon?
I don't know. Maybe the bottom of the pylon will like.
Oh, right,
Triggers.
sorry.
That scared me when I first went over that. I had it humming, I'm like, 100 feet, I'm like, am I high enough? Oh my god.
Yeah. Make sure you see all the cables though. You know, there's that one at the very top, just on its own. Yeah, just steer clear of them. But yes, you can see them when you're coming into land. And the other thing you should do is have 2 or 3 fields that you can glide to, right? And then study them as you're coming in. Really look at them going, pretty sure that one doesn't have a power cable on it. I can see a power cable along the edge of that one, so that one might be a backup. But just really study them, have options. And then when you get lower, sometimes you go, oh, no, there is a power cable in that one, but luckily I can get to my backup.
Sam, we're quarter to 10, so unless there's anything else you haven't added that you wanted to.
Thank you, everybody. That's,
thanks to Sam for a fantastic talk this evening. Just a quick one, just with regards to the club. The next 2 talks. So Johnny Carr is doing one in a month's time. He's actually a hang glider pilot, but he did a talk a couple of years ago. I went and listened to it. It was fascinating, really was. So if you've got the time to go along to that, that will be really worth listening to, coming along to. Next month, month's time, so sort of 4 weeks from now.
He's the president of that club. He's been hang gliding forever. He's got so many good stories.
And still doing it to a very good standard as well. I think he's in his 70s and still, still hang gliding, So
Will that be on a Wednesday?
It will be,
Will we be here?
And here,
Yeah. Cool.
And then a month after that, Inga's doing a talk on hike and fly. So 2 months' time. And you going for this year's Dragon?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So a little bit different, but hopefully we can have another full house for that. So, and again, thanks for everyone coming along tonight and getting involved, and some really good questions for Sam. So really appreciate it. Thanks everyone. Have a safe journey home.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks a lot. Well, Sam.